All right. As we all know, NASA has assembled us, GCU's top engineering minds, to solve a problem that's been plaguing them for the last few weeks. I'm Evan Phillips.
My name is Miguel.
I'm Alejandra.
And I'm Michael Podesnik.
So here's what we're dealing with. As we all know, NASA's trying to launch the new space shuttle for their new space shuttle program. They're trying to bring it back. They're having the same problem they had in 1986. They're worried about the O-ring, and they do not want another Challenger disaster. So here's what we've got. The O-ring for the space shuttle is only reliable and will only seal above 55 degrees Fahrenheit. The expected temperature for the launch is going to be 60 degrees Fahrenheit. The question that we have to determine is it safe to launch this shuttle with only a 5-degree margin from our safe temperature? So that's what we're wrestling with today.
I don't know, man. It seems like a red flag to me.
Yeah?
I would not go with delaying it. In 1985, they delayed it 3 times and they still got an accident.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of delaying it, we need to find a solution. Maybe a change in area where we're launching it.
Mm-hmm.
60 degrees Fahrenheit, it is a tough mark there, but I feel we could do it.
I feel like this 5-degree difference is like very, very unpredictable, and I don't think it's safe.
I guess I'm with him because with the Challenger, it also, the failure happened because of an O-ring failure.
Mm-hmm.
The seal also didn't hold, and that's why that happened.
Right.
Yeah, but the Challenger temperatures of at the launch time were like around the 23 degrees, 24 degrees Fahrenheit. Now we have a 60 degree Fahrenheit temperature expected. And I think that temperature, the only thing it could do is go up. I don't think it'll ever go down at that time of the day.
Well, I think the issue with the temperature that's expected is that it's purely expected. This isn't like data from the day, it's not the day yet. This is just what they're expecting. I know that I've been watching the news and the weatherman say, hey, it'll be nice and sunny today, rained all day. The weather people, they get it wrong sometimes. And if they get it wrong this time, it could potentially cost people their lives, and it could potentially cost the NASA organization millions, if not billions of dollars.
But we also are working on a contract to launch this on a specific date. If we delay it, we'll also lose a lot of money.
Yeah, we put a lot of money into planning this, so I don't know. So we need to think about that too.
Right.
Is this gonna be more expensive if we delay this, or if we do it now? Is it worth it?
I mean, I guess the question would be, is it moral and does it make sense to be risking? I mean, what are we saying? Are we saying that like a few human lives is, oh well, if that, I mean, sure, we can put that on the line, we can risk it for, this money? Because I mean, I guess the way I'm looking at it is, if this fails and we get it wrong, rocket's gone, shuttle's gone, people are gone, people are going to lose their jobs, we're going to lose credibility as a space organization. I mean, we've already had this whole fiasco with the Boeing Starliner not coming up to par. We don't need, anything else. So I just don't feel like this. I mean, 5 degrees Fahrenheit. If it was Celsius, it would be different. You've got a lot more kind of margin there for kind of fluctuation. But I mean, 5 degrees Fahrenheit is such a little margin. And the other thing,
draw it out maybe.
Go for it.
Can you maybe draw it out maybe?
Yeah.
I know what you're saying on this, people, our priority should be the people's lives in that rocket. But the thing here is, we know that accidents are unpredictable, so even if we delay it, something could happen to them.
Right.
And we know that they also know the risks,
Okay.
and they still signed up to this. And we delay it, we'll just keep spending money, unnecessary money for that delay. Go ahead.
Okay. So why don't we could do a pros and cons list. That might be helpful. And we can just kind of summarize what we've talked about. So, and let's say this is pros.
Pros and cons of launching it or delaying it.
Let's say pros and cons of canceling it. Canceling launch. And a lot of this has to do with factors, so, so give me some pros here. Like, we cancel a launch, what are the benefits of that?
Oh.
Go.
No, you can go.
Get more time to like research, study, experiment.
Okay. More R&D time. I'll throw one on here. If we're canceling a launch, no lives are at risk.
Yeah, safety, yeah.
Nobody can die if the launch is canceled.
And money not going to waste.
I'm gonna say no costs from loss of rockets.
Well, cons if we cancel, so we're gonna spend all those resources planning out everything. Like we're gonna spend money on that too. That's wasted money.
Right.
Also.
So, money and time already invested. Wasted. There's also going to be a lot of media coverage that's going to be screwed up with that. I know they like to live stream these launches, and sometimes it becomes a big media thing. Some people have probably flown out to see, they're planning to fly out to see this. And so if we cancel it, you've got all this kind of, a lot of plans are going to get screwed up, both
Hey,
corporate and personal.
yeah, life happens.
That's true, that does happen.
You could also think about like, if it is successful, like that's a lot of money that is efficient. Like you don't waste that money.
Right,
So that's like another thing of like, what would be a con if you cancel that?
right.
Like that could be efficient. You can consider it efficient. Like if it works, like it's gonna everything.
So
No waste-
all
we
the
don't waste
money will
extra
have
money.
value to it because it was actually successful. So,
Right.
but on the other side, if it fails, not only you lost the money you put into the rocket, but
Yeah.
also then for recovering like old parts like debris
Right.
once if we have
Right,
an
yeah, I
accident.
didn't think about the cleanup for sure.
Yeah, the aftermath.
No.
Mm.
I'm gonna say plus or damage control or damage control.
Indemnization to families of those people.
Right.
Mhm.
No. Compensation. for Families. But then, like you were saying, if we do cancel the launch,
If it's successful, and that was well invested.
right.
We'll actually gain money for
Mm.
a successful research.
Right. I think that kind of fits in with money and time is already invested would be
Yeah.
wasted.
True. It's just a perfect plan. huh?
Right. So I think what we have,
It works.
I think kind of what we have to gain.
Yeah. I feel like also for the pros, you could also put like we're actually like looking out for for the people that are involved in this, all the accidents, all the tragedies, which is part of the no lives at risk, I guess.
I think it might be good if we're looking at the financial aspect. It might be good to kind of look at the cost of failure, like if the rocket fails to launch or something happens along that lines versus the cost of the delayed launch. I mean, if the rocket fails, then you gotta buy a new rocket. new rocket, clean up. What else would there be? Gonna train new astronauts, I guess.
Yeah. New jobs.
Train. You know there's gonna be a federal inquiry too. If we let a rocket explode, yeah.
New.
Insurance will be expensive.
Yep. Insurance, rocket insurance,
Oh, not the rocket.
and life insurance too. Insurance.
True.
If we don't launch,
Well, we have a contract. We
right.
need to launch at a certain time.
Loss of money from contract.
I mean, if we delay that launch, we're also losing time on other launches that we
Right,
would be
that's true.
expecting. So that takes up cost for
Yep.
other projects.
Time.
Time is money.
Yeah. Delay.
Time's money.
Yeah, it just means like another few years research gone.
Right. Well, that's the thing is, I guess it's not necessarily wasted research.
It's just
It's just postponed, I guess. I mean, it's not useless,
Yes.
but yeah, I get what you're saying. So.
how long would that normally take to delay it? What would you think? Like if
Delay
we
what?
delay it to another time, how until when? Like,
Well, I think it
months?
just needs to be.
Is that would that be months or is that just like weeks?
Well, it would
Days?
be whenever I think that temperature would come up to an acceptable range.
Mhm.
And I mean, from like I don't know about any of you guys, but I consider myself a Christian, and I don't know. The Bible says treat others how you want to be treated, and personally, I do not want to explode in a rocket, and so I don't want to have to put other people in the position where that could happen. You know what I mean? Like if you were the astronauts and someone were to tell you like, hey, we're gonna go ahead with this launch, even though like it might blow up, would you be like cool with that? You know what I mean? I guess that's kind of where I'm coming from as far as I just don't feel like I could put that. I wouldn't want someone to put me in that situation, and so I wouldn't want to put someone else in that situation.
I get what you're saying, but also in my Christian perspective, this temperature and time is all unpredictable, but we can trust that God will help us in this launch. The expected temperature is all right with the launching. It would just not be in our hands if the temperature drops, and the temperature could drop today
Right.
or in a few months.
Right.
And for that accident in the year 85, 1985, they delayed it from July to November, and then from November to January of 1986.
Right.
And they still couldn't get the temperature right.
Mm.
So I think just
Well, I
delaying
guess-
it would not make such a difference.
Right. Is the problem there that they delayed, or is the problem that they got antsy that they weren't launching, and so they launched when the conditions weren't optimal? I guess the way I look at it would be that they launched when they knew the conditions weren't as they should have been, but because they delayed so much, like we can't. I mean, they were in this exact position. Can we afford to keep delaying this launch? And they decided no, and they paid the price for it. One other thing I think that would be good to consider is that we don't necessarily know. We have the data that this is the expected temperature. We don't know as of right now, like where that temperature is being taken, because just due to differing pressure levels, the temperature, like the ground temperature, could be 60 degrees, because the pressure is going to go. It's going to be less up here and more down here, and because you've got the pressure versus pressure and temperature, they're linear like that. So if the pressure goes down, the temperature is going to go down. And so as the pressure decreases as you get higher, the temperature is going to incrementally, like it's going to be less than 60 here. And it's, I guess, maybe the other way, right? Less than 60, and it'd be more less than 60 up here. So it's going to keep going down. And so my thoughts would be, as this rocket is going, I mean, anyways, that's what we saw with the Challenger, is that nothing exploded down here, but then as it got higher, the temperature got down, and then, sad.
Mm.
And so I think that'd be something to think about, is the temperature is going to go down the higher up in the atmosphere that we get. And so just because it's above 55 here, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be above 55 everywhere until it gets out of Earth's atmosphere.
And there's that temperature, and then there's the temperature caused by the friction going against gravity.
Right. So you've got that increase in temperature from the friction.
Air resistance, yes.
I would still think the temperature as you go up would make more difference than the friction temperature.
I think you might be right.
And so not only that, but the 60 degrees, like, we don't know, that'll probably vary, like, it might
Right.
vary to 58, or
Yep.
maybe, luckily 63, we don't know.
Another thing we don't know is when was this? 19 what?
85.
1985. It's been, what is that, like 40 years?
Right.
It's been 40 years since that situation happened, right?
Yeah,
we don't know
we
that.
have new technology.
We don't know how the safety regulations are now. We don't know if they increased that so to make sure they don't prevent that,
Right.
So we don't know how accurate that is. So if it's updated, another thing we could trust that as long as it's above 55, we're fine. That's another thing. So if as long as it's above that, we can be sure to be able to launch. That's another thing.
Well, back then, the president of the the vice president of the project said just above 53 degrees Fahrenheit would be enough for it to launch safely.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody listened to him. So even right now, we're putting a little bit more than what he thought it was the safe
Right.
way to do it. But still, degrees Fahrenheit are such a small gap, just
Right.
1 degree. We were talking about Celsius here, it could make a whole much difference.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, it is a tight spot.
And considering we don't know how accurate or how good the safety regulations are, I feel like we can't.
Just
That's not something we could trust on.
just by that table you put up there,
Yeah, we have a lot
I
of.
was thinking of it, and I do think it would cost us a lot more. Like if it fails and if we decided to launch it at the time we have it scheduled. So I think the best way to go is to delay it.
Yeah, I also think the best way is delaying it because there's a lot less cons than it is pros of not canceling.
Right.
So we can visually see how much better it is to delay it,
Mm-hmm.
how much less of a risk.
And then definitely, who chose this date? Oh, who actually chose this date? I didn't. I wasn't here for that meeting.
Right.
But I think definitely temperatures are gonna be up during the summer. Definitely, like next few months.
Mm-hmm.
And just post on the media that like, all right, some kind of revision or like date. The date was moved because of complications with temperature, and we're gonna go to the summer.
So I think we're all pretty much at a consensus. Are we delaying the launch?
It, yeah. Maybe not until summer, because we know high temperatures could also complicate it.
Mhm.
But at least as long as we know it's gonna be above the 60.
Right.
I would say a 10-degree gap would be enough.
Yeah.
I guess the last thing I could bring up is humidity.
Right.
Yeah, that too. But like you said, we could also post something like we're
Mhm.
gonna do more research. We could kind of do like a memorial for those people who lost their lives in 1986.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel people would understand. And losing the money of a
Mhm.
contract is nothing compared to losing the money on rocket, losing people's lives,
Right.
and insurance.
All right. Good work, everyone.
I'll get started on it.
All right. Thank you very much.
We go.
All right.